Okay, welcome to episode 11 of Full Disclosure. How you doing, Jono?
Woo! Yeah, it's just strong like a lion.
Strong like a lion. How's the weather down in Melbourne at the moment?
Rainy, terrible, but this is when Melburnians really flex their muscle and just get amongst it.
What is that?
This is when Melbourne becomes a superior city to Sydney. When the going gets tough, the Melburnians hit the streets and do cool stuff.
Like?
Well, I had a ripping weekend. We had some visitors from Sydney. You know them very well.
Yes.
Skip and Medicine Man, we'll call him.
Yes.
And had to show them around. And one of them's fresh off a breakup, the other one off a divorce, and they looked like they'd just come out of their minds, mate. They were wild-eyed and scaring women left, right, and centre. So I did what I could.
Great. You looked after them?
I did, but I came and went. But yeah, I took them. There's a place in Melbourne where you can get $12 Boilermakers. You can get a good craft can and a whiskey for $12. That is great value. So we went to a few whiskey bars.
Why don't you give them a plug? What is that place?
I think that one's called Whiskey and Ale. Whiskey and Ailment. And then we also went to a place called Boilermakers.
Okay. Which
is a little bit more hipster. We went to a Chinese restaurant on Friday night. And you know Paddy, who works at The Age. Shout out to Paddy. We were lining up and we saw these vegans doing a silent protest in Little Bourke Street in Chinatown outside this Chinese restaurant. And it was a silent protest. And we went up and Paddy's got a journalist's nose, and so he went up to them and he said, "Why have you picked this restaurant above all other restaurants?" And they were like, "We're not allowed to talk." And he goes, "Just tell us." They were like the nerdy kind of guys. And they said because they use shark fin in their soups and they have fish on display. And we both went, "Why don't you go outside the Shark Fin House," which is like 5 doors up. There's an actual place called Shark Fin House. And they're like, "Oh, we didn't know about that." And obviously they're very iron deficient. They don't have a lot of energy to kind of look around the block. And so Paddy was like, "Which one? Who's in charge of this?" And they pointed sheepishly to this pretty good looking woman with like tats all over her and black hair. So that's how she gets all these people to follow her around. And we went up to her and we told her the news as well about Shark Fin House, and she was a little bit upset. And she said, "How did you know I was a leader?" And we were like, "Those guys told us."
They outed you.
and then we outed them. We were like, they're talking quite a lot. And just as we're having quite a bit of fun, Honey Babe came out of the bottle shop and caught me being belligerent to a vegan as an ex-vegan, and so she shut it down very quickly.
Shut it down.
But then she shut it down. But then when we got back, they were gone. So Paddy's absolutely convinced that we scared off the vegans, or at least maybe they were at Shark Fin House.
One can only hope. Well, look, that's. I guess you were making some unwanted advances towards the protesters, which leads us to the theme of our episode this week. It is the Unwanted Advances episode, or advances, depending on whereabouts in Australia you hail from. I dare say
hail being the operative word in Melbourne at the moment.
Where do you hail from? I see, that's a gag. Yes, that's right. No, very good. No, you're using hail in numerous ways. No, it's actually raining in Sydney as we speak. Vivid Sydney, of course, is on. All the lights are on, so we're our crack at a cultural extravaganza. But it's pretty shitty weather. It's one of the few, and it's a bit like LA and Sydney. When there is finally shitty weather, everyone wants to talk about it because it's so rare. So everyone's giving their little waxing lyrical about how shitty the general vibes are. But it's also a long weekend this weekend.
It's hard to beat Vivid, Vivid. It's a great festival.
It's a great festival.
Yeah. Few questions about you. I don't want to. I know you want to get cracking. Mm-hmm. But your car, is your car out of the shop?
No, that's
what the fuck, mate?
I've gone completely bike. I'm on the bike. I'm loving it. Got so much rain over the last few days that in fact some water got in my tank on my bike and I had to pull off just before the bridge, which wasn't great. But back on the road and just loving the bike.
You had to pull yourself off. You had to pull yourself off before the bridge. What, you love bridges, don't you?
Yeah.
You're a big bridge fan. They turn you on.
They sure do. I was just all over it.
That's why you live in Sydney. You love that bridge.
Well,
you love San Francisco and you love Sydney. You love great bridges.
Yeah, I don't plan on playing bridge. I draw the line at the card game, but short of that, I'm a big fan. So,
but just quickly, say, hang on a second.
Yes.
This was the second episode, I believe.
Yes.
You had a big tantrum. This is months ago. How many months now has this bloke held you at ransom?
It's almost a year. He's had my car for almost a year now.
What?
Yeah, it's not good.
Have you just given up? Have you given up?
Look, Because I've got the bike,
It's never good when someone says look.
Because I've got the bike, it's not driving me insane, and the bike's fantastic. Like it's
not driving you anywhere, mate.
It's true. It's much quicker. The bike's much quicker. I can lane hop. It's fantastic, and I don't pay for
So
parking.
why don't you sell the car while it's in there, and then it's their responsibility to get the car back?
Why don't I sell the car?
He's taking the piss massively. Like it's aging. Like it's not like
yes.
It's an aging investment. You should be furious.
Look, one thing that sort of tempered my anger was I went to another mechanic and I mentioned the situation. He goes, "Oh, I couldn't do a transplant," and then he said, "Actually, to be honest with you, because the engine has to be transplanted," and he said, "To be honest with you, that's my car there. It's been up on the
probably his brother-in-law.
It's been there for 2 years anyway. He's his own car, so." I think it's a big job.
Sure, it was his own car. Yeah, it sounds like they're all in it together. Sounds like a big. He probably got on his Slack.
Anyway,
all the other mechanics.
Speaking of Slack and being
said some disgusting thing about women.
Speaking of Slack and being in something together, you've set me up here with the guys that just visited you, Pickaxe and Hutchings. You set me up here with a Snapchat.
Not Hutchings, no, Skip.
Sorry, Skip and Skip and Medicine Man. You set me up with a Snapchat from Medicine Man, and you want me to open.
Okay, well I'll set that up for you.
Go on.
Yes, I'll just quickly give it some context. So we had that lovely night on Friday night, then Saturday night. I tried to take them out again. Went to a place, took mushrooms, but they weren't really into it. Skip picked up a German woman though on what Bumble or one of those things. But the next day they were a little bit salty. We were drinking beers in the garden, and Medicine Man got out his phone and said, "Hey, this is pretty funny. Have a look at this." And Honey Babe was there. Honors' lovely girlfriend Steph was there. And so you just watch it in real time, and maybe you can commentate what Medicine Man made us all look at on his phone.
Right, it's a guy fucking a melon. It looks like a melon.
You've got the sound up.
No, I haven't got the sound. No, I haven't got the sound.
Oh, you have to put the sound up. Yeah, the sound is. Maybe you can loop the sound.
It's really gross, dude.
So glad I'm not seeing it again. I'm so good. He said, whatever you do, don't, share that or anything. It's a Snapchat. Are you still watching it? Did you watch it till the end?
No, I watched it 3
times.
Keep
watching it, because a bit...
I'm not. I've stopped.
No, keep watching it.
No, I've stopped.
No, you can't. I didn't get to
I'm finished. I'm not going to watch it again. It's a guy fucking a melon. I'm not going to watch it again.
Come on, mate. Put it on till the end.
It's done. I played it to the end. I've already done it for the end. Numerous times.
Okay, so the unfortunate thing about it, because you describe it, I mean I can't get it off my membrane now. Like it's scorched on my retinas. But can you just? He's fucking a melon, right? And he's got great abs. He's like a skinny guy with great abs fucking a melon. And you think, okay, that's kind of funny, it's obviously. But then something happens. You remember what happens?
No, what happened?
You see the whole shaft. Like he takes the melon off enough where you just see cock. And it goes from R-rated to quadruple X-rated. And so we're like, why did you show us this, Medicine Man? What's going on here? Like, obviously this has gone viral. He's like, no, it's not viral at all. It's just my hairdresser gave this video to me. His hairdresser just said, hey, this is one of my mates. Have a look at this. So yeah, that was how the weekend ended.
I'm just so glad. So glad you got them to share that with me. It's just so it's fantastic. Really.
It's like the ring. Like I saw it, so I had to get you to see it.
Oh, I wish I could unsee it. It was fucking.
Well, me too. But now you've got to show it to somebody else, and then you won't lust after melons.
I've never lusted after melons. It's much more your humour, the sound that it makes when it was much more. You like those sounds that people make when they're fucking and wanking. It's just gross. I don't understand.
This sound.
Gross. Oh, stop it. Grow up. All right. So moving right along. That was an unwanted advance. I got an advance on a loan there, and I didn't want the loan, and I didn't want what you gave me. That's for sure. Fuck. There was
you didn't help out.
Bits of semen coming off his cock, dude. It was disgusting.
Exactly. You didn't paint a picture. You're the one looking at it.
Under his ass, and he's like, and I thought it was some hands or something. And so he was barefoot with his toes wriggling around as he was. Oh, it was disgusting.
Now you're warming to the task.
Thank you for that. Thank you so much for that unwanted advance.
So that was the end of the weekend.
Anyway, let's move on to our first full disclosure because we want to get straight into it this ep. We're going to motor on through. We're going to do an unprecedented 3 full disclosures this episode.
Whoa.
3 full disclosures. disclosures.
Never been done before.
Never been done before. We're going to give it to you.
You've gone mad.
We've decided to give you a triple crown as such. And we're going to start off with my first one.
We're going to give it to you raw.
Give it to you.
Raw fruit.
Oh, it was too raw. It was raw. It was way too raw.
Yeah,
So the first,
you didn't like it as much as I thought you would.
First disclosure, we'll start with myself, and it features none other than Drew Barrymore.
Ooh.
Jono and Dorje, full disclosure in the raw. So I'll go into it quickly. And also, my contact, actually, the reason I was there was through a friend of Jono's. It was a guy he knew from drama school called Paul Mashton. And Paul Mashton was a VCA grad, an actor, and he's working at a really cool bar in LA. Let's call it Pally Face.
Oh, you can say the bar. You can say the bar.
Pally House. It was called Pally House. So
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was Pally House.
You can say the name. You're not going to get sued by the... What did you do? Fuck a melon there or something? Like, it's not the bar.
Well, I just thought once we're starting changing names to get going, but I didn't change Drew Barrymore's name, so there's no point. Anyway, so it's called Pally House. So I'm out with some friends. I'll name them Rupert Reed, Ella Scott Lynch, and Doug, and a whole bunch of other people, some Americans that I've been partying with. This is my second trip to Los Angeles, to LA, and I was there for around the pilot season area for pilot season auditions. And we decide to go to Pally House for a drink, and we walk in, and lo and behold, it's actually Drew Barrymore's Golden Globe winning party for Grey Gardens. We've stumbled into this party, which she's having at Pally House. So she's there in this beautiful golden dress. She's just won the Golden Globe.
Can I just derail a little bit for a second?
Yeah.
The original documentary of that was just brilliant. Did
Amazing.
you ever see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
A couple of cat ladies. It could be you and me, Dorje.
Shut up. So anyway, so we go to Pally House, and she's there in this beautiful dress. And if you see her winning the award, she's so happy because she talks about how she's got paralysis on one side of her face, and she never thought that she'd be able to do this. Anyway, so she was extremely excited, and she's there. We stumble in, and because we know Paul, it's all good. We're there, we're drinking, and then she's got a big entourage with her, including Justin Long. Justin Long's there, who I believed was her partner at the time, and his
Who's Justin Long?
Justin Long, and a big actor. He was a huge actor, still kind of is. He was in one of the Die Hard movies. He was the Apple guy. He was the face of Apple there for a while. Cool little hipster, good-looking guy.
No idea who it is.
You don't know who Justin Long is? He started as a child actor.
I don't like the sound of him either.
Anyway Justin Long's there, and his brother's there. Anyway, so it starts, and we meet Drew. She happens to walk over and she's talking about something, and she mentions Pavlov's dog. She goes, "Oh, it was just like Pavlov's dog," or something. I go, "Ha ha ha!" And everyone in the group laughs. Ha ha ha! I smile and I move away from the group. And then I meet Justin. And
you didn't know who Pavlov's dog was?
No, I knew exactly what Pavlov's dog was. It was just she was talking about.
What was his name? What was it?
Fido. Anyway, so the gag was, that she was having a response where she responds to everything straight, like the slobbered on effect that the Pavlov's dog had when the bell rings. Anyway, moving right along. I meet Justin Long. I chat to him for a bit. He seems like a nice guy. He talks about how he grew up in Philadelphia, I think it was, and his dad is an academic. I meet his brother, who seems really nice. Everything's going pretty well. I'm swanning around, and then suddenly this guy just comes up to me. This little, I think he was Eurasian from memory, and he walks up and he's like, "Hey," and I was like, "Hi," and I'm there with Ella and Rupert Reed, and he says, "So, what are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna get kicked out." They obviously don't want us to be out there.
I'm a fake. I don't belong here. Oh, they know.
They know. Well, I'm not doing it.
Everyone knows.
I'm a fraud. I'm a charlatan. So what am I doing here at Drew Barrymore's after party? Anyway, so I'm there, and he's like, tell me your story. I was like, sorry? Mm-hmm. And I said, I'm just an Australian actor. I'm just here pilot season. And he's like, oh, okay. So Drew's really into you? And I was like, sorry? And he's like, yeah, Drew's really into you. I'm Drew's PA, and she sent me over here. What's your number, and where are you staying, and how long are you in town for? I was like, okay.
Whoa.
Yeah. I was like, and my friends are like, whoa, they're backing away. Like they're like kind of half whooping and half cheering, trying to be cool. And I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, I mean, I'm a young actor, and I'm an undergrad, and I'm staying with my friends in West Hollywood. I don't really have do you want my friend's American cell? And he's like, yeah, we don't want your Australian cell. Give me the American cell. So I give him the American cell. He's like, okay, so you're a young actor, go on. And I give him a few details on some of the stuff I'd done in Australia, and he's like, great, well, Drew's really into you. And I was like, well, wait a second. I just stopped him there. I said, okay. And I spoke to her very briefly, and also I spoke to who I thought were her boyfriend. I spoke to her boyfriend, I think, Justin Long, and he's like, "Oh no, Drew totally kicked Justin Long's ass to the curb like 3 months ago." I was like, "Oh."
As soon as she won the award, like,
he used those words, "kick Justin Long's ass to the curb," and I was like, "Oh," I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "Yeah, this is how we do things here. Okay, we send PAs over." I was like, "Oh, okay, sounds good. Okay, cool."
Yeah.
And so he walks away, and I'm walk away just like a bit dazed, and then everyone's like, that's amazing, it's amazing. And it was like, and friends are like, oh, you're gonna be calling us from the courtside seats in LA with Drew, it's gonna be fantastic. And I'm like, this is pretty cool. I was like, okay, so it must have been me laughing at the Pavlov's dog joke, I guess, because I got it. Maybe that differentiated me somehow, I don't know. Anyway, so I get back, I'm waiting for this call, and it doesn't. I waited a couple of days in this place in West Hollywood I'm staying, and this call's not there. I'm thinking, do I contact the agent? What do I do here? This is full on. Like, I mean, I'd really like to hang out with Drew Barrymore, actually, and should just talk projects or something. Anyway, I Google online. There's pictures of her and Justin Long back together. It says, or whatever, which is fine. But I don't think. But this is the thing. I've since come to the realization. About a month later, one of the girl's number, who I gave the cell phone number, the American girl that I was friends with, it's like, I got a call from that agent guy who asked for your number. I was like, yeah, and he was like, hey, sweetie, I'm looking for that cute Aussie guy. Just wondering if he's around. And yeah, and so it gradually became clear that actually it was the PA that was looking to get my number because he wanted to hook up with me. It wasn't. He was using the guise of Drew Barrymore being into me as a way to secure my number. And my friend picked up on that, and she was like, "Listen, okay, he's not available.
She cock-blocked him.
He's straight. Yeah. She totally cock-blocked him." And she's like,
that was a total cock-block.
You've got the wrong number. I don't know what you're talking about. And she kind of just backed away from it ASAP. But it
TCB.
was. It was it was briefly a very exciting period of time, but if I did the math on it and calculated every step of the way, there was no way that Drew was ever going to be interested in.
Come on, mate.
No, but I mean, just from the extent of our interactions and all those sort of things.
Well, they never broke up. Probably he probably made up that Justin Long.
I was trying to think maybe it was I was being used as some sort of tool or something in front of him because they were broken up or something in the time. But really, it's become very clear to me it was an agent or a PA looking to use their power of the situation in order to get their leg over. And in the wake of the Me Too movement, and there was a guy who came out recently, an American actor, who said something similar about
Terry Crews.
That's right. That's
Crews,
right. That's right. Yeah. And so, it was disappointing because of the fact it seemed like I was one step away from some great momentous moment in my life.
What?
And then it was...
You're going to have sex with Drew Barrymore, that's what you're saying.
No, I was going to be able to hang out, and talk projects and go and see gigs. And
what's your favourite Drew Barrymore performance?
My favourite Drew Barrymore performance.
She was great in E.T. She's terrific in E.T. We speak a lot about child actors, and I can't think of a better one. In E.T. That's amazing. There's not a lot of range, but she's so adorable.
She's great in E.T., but she's a child. She's a child in E.T.
Yeah, but I'm saying she's a good child actor. I think she may potentially never did a better performance than that. She was really
I thought she was
adorable always.
She's very lovable.
But what was her great? She was
The Wedding Singer? I thought she was great in The Wedding
Angels.
Singer. I thought she was very good in that.
Yeah. That's the one they talk about. But she never kind of hit a dramatic role or anything. She's more just like famous for light, fluffy stuff.
And being Hollywood royalty.
offense
She's
to
Hollywood royalty. She's very well connected, and she's a producer.
Is it Drew? What's his name? Ethel Barrymore.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
And her dad was her granddad maybe was a very famous Broadway actor. There's a theatre named after him.
Yes. Well, you do love your Broadway. You do love your Broadway, Jono, but you also love your hip hop. When it comes to America. And I think that leads us nicely into all things American and all things hip-hop. You've got some hot takes on what's happening on the scene in hip-hop right now. Why don't you take us away with some of that?
Jono and Dorje. Full disclosure. No holds barred. No holds barred.
Well, hip-hop's never been more current, mate. Well, it's probably been more current, but it's back. I was enjoying talking to our hip-hop correspondent last week from Riverside, Rupert, and when I was speaking to him, Pusha T's new album had dropped and Kanye West had produced it. But in the last few days, Kanye West has dropped his latest album, and it's in the wake of all the crazy shit that he's been doing. It could have easily been just kind of a big distraction, all that sort of stuff. But he did it in a huge kind of a huge way. What he did is he flew over 500 or so of his closest friends and journalists to Jackson Hole, a very elite skiing resort in Wyoming. And some of the people there were Nas, Jonah Hill, strangely, Chris Rock, and they all had a listening party at this, like probably 6 hours before it dropped on all the streaming devices. And 7 songs, as is Kanye's bent now. That's his thing. Like Pusha T's album was 7 songs. He's about to produce Nas's new album, and who else is he going to do? He's going to do a bunch of other people right now, and they're all going to be 7 songs. 7 songs. That's the thing. But it's very short, Dorje. It's an incredibly short album. It's like 25 minutes, and he got all these people over there, and it's very hard to be objective. It's kind of he's in his interviews afterwards, he was very honest about that he's bipolar and that he's going through all these things, and with the Trump thing and the 400 years of slavery. But it's a very he's like having a party and getting all these people around him to listen. So no one's going to actually be honest to him in the album. Have you had a chance to listen to any of it?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Well, it's called Yay, which is the most used word in the Bible, but also his name's Kanye, so I'm sure he doesn't mind that. He is deeply religious, and it got 7.1 on Pitchfork, which is usually his biggest fan. They've given him 10 stars, 10 out of 10 for My Beautiful Dark Fantasy, which was his follow-up to when he jumped the stage with Taylor Swift. So people, like, he's used to hitting a home run after challenging people. This is not a home run by any sleight of the imagination, but it's also not a classic rap album. It's a bit more like 808 Heartbreaks, where he's pushing in a direction we haven't been before. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of him, so I'm willing to... When I first heard 808 Heartbreaks, I chucked it away. I was so angry because it was all auto-tune. But I've bought it again, and it's grown on me. So I'm thinking this one will grow on me too. His first track is it says it's all about wanting to kill someone, and people are interpreting it as that he wants to kill his wife, Kim Kardashian, who obviously is also right in the news right now because she just met with Donald Trump. So it's a really he's right in the epicenter of the postmodern kind of news cycle that's constantly going. And there was a great headline with Trump and Kim Kardashian saying the only Kim that Trump could get a meeting with, which I thought was very funny. Very funny.
Oh, as in the North Korean Kim, of course. Yeah, yes.
Oh, yeah. You don't have to explain to anyone. I think they'll get it. So he has this song called I Wanted to Kill Someone.
Yeah, so what's your take on it? What did you actually think of the album yourself?
Okay. It seems flabby for 25 minutes even. Like, there's bits of it I don't like, which is worrying that in 25 minutes he can't have wall-to-wall bangers. But I love the amount of the lyricism. I love that everything's so clear and immediate, and it feels like just an incredibly creative endeavor. And that's what I love about Kanye West, is that he goes in there and he just creates. And I think it's a problem that he thinks he's a genius, because I think he doesn't edit. So an example of that is the cover. He's obviously quite he's getting a lot of controversy for his album artwork at the moment, because he picked Whitney Houston's bathroom full of drug paraphernalia for the Pusha T album, and he was going to have the person that did plastic surgery on his mum when she died on the cover of this one, but he decided not to. And Kim revealed that it was just a photo that he took on his iPhone of the Wyoming mountains on the way there, and he's written on it, I hate being bipolar. It's awesome. So that's what it says on the cover. So it's just like, like, I think whatever he does, he's like, I nailed it. But there's some he's so good at sampling. There's some great samples on it. There's some good raps. There's incredible collaborations. I'll just give you some of the lyrics. Just it's very stream of consciousness. It feels like an acting exercise. It feels like, and that's what a lot of the jazz albums were, and hip hop has been in the past with Tupac and stuff like that. They'll just go in the studio, smoke a blunt, have some Henny, and just riff. A bit like you and myself, Big Cat, doing these podcasts. So he says, just say it out loud to see how it feels. People say, don't say this, don't say that. Just say it out loud. Just see how it feels. Like he does a lot of. It's the first song. It's not great to re-listen to because it's a bit like a Laurie Anderson almost. Like it's almost a spoken word, which is pretty weird for hip hop. And then at the end, he says he talks about his. This is another another song. Yikes! He talks about himself in third person at the very end, and he say, "You see, that's what I'm talking about. That's why I fuck with Ye. See that? That's me in the third person. That's my bipolar shit." And then he uses the N-word. And then he says, that's my superpower, N-word. Ain't no disability. I'm a superhero. I'm a superhero. And then he does this scream, this primal scream. Reminds me of being in method acting classes, actually. And he did a lot of that on Yeezus. But it's not as good as Yeezus or The Life of Pablo or the albums before because I think he's raced it. So it's a race thing, but I think he's so good that even a race thing is better than most people's polished stuff. I don't think it's polished. And he can get whoever he wants. Like people just jump, like you don't even know they're on it because he uses so little of them. But he's got John Legend, Nicki Minaj, Young Thug, Ty Dolla $ign, and your mate Kevin Parker was on it. And this was controversial. Kevin Parker didn't even know he was going to be on it. He was at the listening party and was like, "Oh shit, I'm on that song." And Kevin Parker, full disclosure, is one of Dorje's best friends from Tame Impala.
I wouldn't say one of their
and that's
best
what
friends.
I think you'd like about it. It's not like rap. It's Tame Impala. What would you say their music? What's their genre?
Psych rock.
Psych rock. So psych rock has influenced hip hop because it was so popular. So now some of his tracks sound a bit like that. It's quite druggy.
How would Kevin Parker not know he was going to be on the album?
Because he sent him a bunch of samples a long time ago. And Kanye never cleared it. You meant to clear it. You meant to clear it if you're going to put someone on your album.
Yeah. So
because you obviously got to pay them at some stage.
So the track Wouldn't Leave, apparently, is the one that famously Kim broke down crying because he wouldn't play it to her before he released it because it features her, him talking about her reaction when
talking about that,
he made the slavery.
Yeah, she was pissed off and he said, well, just leave me, and she wouldn't leave. Yeah, and then the last track, it's weird. The last track's all about his daughter and about him being worried about people fucking his daughter, and there's a line about don't do yoga, don't do Pilates, stick to something else, stick to karate. It's pretty funny. It's like basically now that I'm got a daughter, I don't want to objectify women anymore. So people are having a bit of a trouble about that.
That's what Jay-Z did as well. So he apologized for 99 Problems with the bitch and one because he said now he's got a daughter. He doesn't feel great about it. Amazing backtracking. But in terms of, so you've given your take on it yourself. What about the future? What do you think the future holds for Kanye in terms of reaction, and where does he go from here?
Well, I think he can just make another album. Well, he's making all these other albums for other people now because he's such a fantastic producer. So he's right into it. But I think he's a guy with mental health issues in the middle of a maelstrom with the Kardashians. So hopefully he just sticks to his creative juices and just keeps making awesome music.
And what was your
his body of work already is terrific. I mean, incredible.
And it's 7 for you, this album, as well, is it?
Yeah, yep. I really gave it a go. Like I've listened to it 20 times. It's not hard to. It's only 25 minutes, but. And so I've got it in my head, but it's not as good as his other ones. It's definitely his weakest album.
Okay.
So there you go.
Is that all you want to talk about in relation to hip hop?
Well, no, you're being very kind, Dorje, because there's a huge story in hip hop at the moment. Hopefully, quite a few people know about it. But on the Far Superior album that Kanye actually just worked for the beats on exclusively for Pusha T had a go at Drake, and Drake is pretty much the undisputed king of hip hop at the moment. It's probably him and Kendrick Lamar, and Kanye's disgraced himself, so he's off. But people have a problem with Drake because he's not from America. He's half black, half Jewish. He's Canadian. He was on Degrassi, and so a lot of people take pot shots at him. He's very good, but there was a diss on the track that he doesn't write his own raps, and he came back in a freestyle diss track, which is a real tradition, and had to go at Pusha T at his pedigree as a drug dealer, because Pusha T's all about dealing drugs, and also that he invoiced Kanye West, I think, $100,000 for helping his career. And then Pusha T came back with absolute fire, Dorje. Just absolutely ripped him a new one. I think it's one of the best diss tracks of all time. He dug deep into the internet and found a picture of Drake in blackface from before he was a big rapper, when he was an actor. And Drake's explained it, but still it was a very powerful image, straight up. And then he went into that Drake doesn't write his own lyrics.
Here's the issue. Like, it's an image, but like I said to you, you have to look at the context. And the context was to show how African Americans were wrongfully portrayed in entertainment. That's what they were doing with the image. You can grab an image from any area, but if you don't know the context, you can't use it to brandish it against someone. He was actually trying to highlight that black actors were struggling to get roles and being stereotyped and typecast. It was
okay. Well, you're definitely defending him.
No, that's literally what it was for. Like, so you
it was, but it's.
You got to look at the context of anything. You can't just grab something and say
that's a tiny part of it anyway. So what he did was way colder. So I'll just read it out because I don't have the flow. But he says, "Since you name dropped my fiance," that's what Drake also name dropped. That's what really upset him. He goes, "Let him know who you chose as your Beyonce. Sophie knows better. Ask your baby mother. Cleaned her up for IG, but the stench is on her. A baby's involved. It's deeper than rap. We're talking character. Let me keep with the facts. You are hiding a child. Let that boy come home. Deadbeat motherfucker playing border patrol. Ooh, Adonis is your son, and he deserves more than an Adidas press run. That's real. Love that baby. Respect that girl. Forget she's a porn star. Let her be your world." So he's not even going against it. Drake had an illegitimate child with his porn star, and then Adidas is going to give him a brand, and he's going to call it Adonis. Anyway, his kid's name's Adonis, and and so it might actually cost Drake his whole deal with Adidas. And then he also had to go.
Why would it cost him his deal with Adidas?
Because it's not good for because Adidas don't want someone that's not actually owning up to having a kid.
Right.
It's called Adion, the brand, and but then he also has a go at Noah Shabib, who's one of his collaborators, who's got multiple sclerosis, which people are really not being happy. He goes over 40, hunched over like he 80, tick tick tick. How much time he got? That man is sick.
It's just pathetic. It's just pathetic. I just find it pathetic. Like, it's just like, it reminds me, it's, you can look at the English equivalent.
Of the sledges, I know.
Yeah, it's just sledging, but it's just like boys just bashing their heads against each other, going, "Oh, who's tougher? I don't find it interesting. I think it's lame, to be honest with you. Like, the last most famous in the rap game to everyone worldwide is, I guess, the Biggie versus the West Coast East Coast.
Yeah,
thing,
you know where that ended.
Yeah, we all know how that finished up. But I just think, it's just dudes.
No, it's good. It's good, Dorje.
Smacking their cocks against each other's faces, as far as I'm concerned, and about as interesting as a guy mounting a melon. So I'm glad we covered it. Nice. Thank you for that again, Jono. Thanks for that wonderful moment of two guys yelling obscenities at each other from afar and talking about each other's disabled friends and making fun of them. But perhaps we can move on to something a bit more highbrow.
Yes, what can we talk about?
Speaking of highbrow, let's go to something. Well, I was on a spiritual quest. This is my disclosure number 2.
Oh, geez, okay.
It's full disclosure. The Jono and Dorje podcast.
Moving on to far more, I hope, cultured terrain than what we just went through. The mire that we were just dragged through yet again by Jono in this episode. Yeah. So I actually saw Jono.
You like rap?
I saw Jono recently. Well, not recently. I was on a trip with Jono through India, one of our famous trips together over the years. And this is one of our first international travels. But this is prior to, I think it's happened just before I met up with you in Kerala. I was in a place called Varanasi. And again, this links in, I'm sure you might be able to guess where this is going, dear listeners, with our Unwanted Advances. theme.
Well, I foreshadow it. Just tell us the story. Yeah, you're in
Varanasi. I was in Varanasi.
The most spiritual part of India, which is the most spiritual part of the world.
I was staying in this backpackers.
Is that in Jerusalem?
Yeah, that's right. I was staying at a backpackers near the Ganges. It was beautiful. All these sort of Hindu rituals happening left, right, and centre.
Yeah. A lot of shit, though. Do you remember that?
I stepped in a lot of fecal matter, especially when the lights went out at 10 p.m. each night. I couldn't see the fecal matter, so I'm like stepping huge amounts of shit. That wasn't much fun. But the reason I wasn't in Varanasi is it's one of the hot spots for Buddhist pilgrimages, and it's just so happened in a nearby place called Sarnath. The Dalai Lama was doing a big talk, and so people from all over India were gathering. And I had a very expensive video camera that I'd taken to shoot some footage about a Tibetan Australian connecting with his culture. So it's great Sony Z1 for the record, great camera for all you.
How's that doco going?
It's still coming along,
ready
mate.
To drop it?
How long ago was this? Is like 12 years ago. So anyway,
Have you still got the footage?
The tapes are a problem. I've got the tapes around, but a lot of them got damaged by some cough syrup. Anyway, moving right along.
Okay.
So I was there in Varanasi. I'd managed to, using the fact that my father was quite well known to Tibetan society, get a great seat near the Dalai Lama. I'm shooting this great footage, and we're in Sarnath, and I keep walking past this Indian guy who keeps calling out to me every now and then, what's your name? What's your name? And I was like, Dorje. My name's Dorje. Now, the thing is, as a Perth person, and I think, Jono, even though you're not from Perth, you have some similarities in this.
Thank God.
When we travel, when I was traveling at this early stage of my life, we're quite wide-eyed, and we're a little bit, I think, easy to be taken advantage of. We're sort of dumb, sort of trusting people, because in Perth you just don't get that many people coming through, and everyone's kind of friendly and nice. So this guy keeps smiling, saying hello, but by this stage I've been in India for a while, and I'm wise to the fact I've already been shafted numerous times. Tuk-tuk drivers have laughed as they've taken my money. I've been ripped off so many times. So I'm wise to this sort of routine. Yeah. So this guy's like, hey,
and everyone talks to each other. They're like your mechanics. Like, that's what the thing. It's an incredible place. Like Varanasi is because I spent probably 2 weeks there at one stage, and I think it's the world capital of the con. It's on all levels. People are fleecing, mostly Indians, because everyone's there on Hindu pilgrimages,
That's right.
Buddhist pilgrimages.
Yes.
So they all do talk to each other. It'd make a great HBO kind of Wire style series.
Yes, and you're on the money in the fact that they're onto the fact that people are there for spiritual reasons, and I believe they use that in order to work on their con routines. My mother said on her trips in the 60s and 70s, they'd often use something like a bang lassi, for example, where they put a lot of weed in a lassi, and then someone would drink it, some stupid white hippie, get really stoned out of their mind, and they take everything, that sort of thing. And
just in case anyone's thinking, it's got nothing to do with having sex with a dog, a bang lassi, okay? It's definitely, it's a drink. So don't your mind don't even go there. I know there's a bunch of listeners out there going, that's disgusting. No, it's
quite a wonderful drink.
Lassi.
It's I love it. Georgie, my partner, thinks it's disgusting, but I just love it. I didn't like it when I first started.
I love lassi. I don't think I like a bung lassi.
No, I don't know. I'm just talking about a normal lassi. I've never had a bung lassi. Or is it bang lassi? I thought it was a bang lassi.
I think it'd be bang lassi. I'm just trying.
You're turning into a bung lassi. Bung.
Bang lassi.
Anyway, so I'm in Varanasi, and this guy he's like, oh, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I'm just shooting a documentary of it. He goes, oh, where are you from? And I was like, I'm actually I'm from Australia. And he's like, oh, that's wonderful. I'd love to talk to you about Australia and Tibet and the connections.
Scottish? Where was he from? Where was this guy from?
He says, that's
Are
wonderful.
You really doing the accent? You're not allowed to do that anymore, Dorje.
I'm not doing that.
You just do it as yourself. Do you notice how I did the rap? I just did it myself. I was like, yo.
Yeah, it was riveting, absolutely riveting, I can tell you. Gee, it really made the story. Anyway, so yeah, he said, wonderful, I'd love to talk to you about that. And I was like, well, what do you mean talk to me? He goes, I have a factory here and we can talk about...
The accent. Go full Indian.
And you're here for a Buddhist, you're here for this Buddhist, for the Dalai Lama. It's so interesting. Perhaps you can shoot something. We can talk about my factory and the connections between Australia and Tibet and India. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess. So the next day I come back and goes, you come inside and we can talk about it. And I've got my camera. I go, okay, look, I'll meet you. And he goes, yes, come inside. So I come inside. And when he says inside, he's got this sort of backyard area. So I walk through his driveway and he's got like 3 or 4 stragglers. There's a couple of really old...
Are you deliberately making everything sound like sexual?
No, I'm not.
You come inside, we've got this backyard area.
Tell you, mate, listen, Melon Man, just to stay on track. So I get out the back there, and he's got these little kids. There's a couple of kids, like young kids, looking at me sort of weirdly, and there's a very old man, and they both have their eyes are darting around a little bit, which is not a good sign. So, and keep in mind, this whole time I'm thinking, okay, what's this guy's angle? Because at this stage I'm just old enough and mature enough to realize that most people have an angle with this sort of thing when they're inviting you in like this. Yeah. Unfortunately. So he says, listen, I just want to talk to you about, everything about Australia and Tibet and let's have a chat. And I said, let's get some chai. And so this old man goes away and returns with this chai. And I think he's looking disapprovingly is the look that I'm getting at this Indian man. And the Indian man is talking to me would be about 45. He's got like one of those really Indian moustaches, those moustaches, the sort of Anglo-Indian moustaches, a little bit like the, one of those higher caste members, a little bit like a Ganguly, a Ganguly type moustache.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's quite dark. And so I sit down and I have some of the chai with him and goes, yes, okay. And so we're talking a little bit. I said, well, what factory? What's the factory? And he goes, oh, we do some work here and there. And then we're talking and gradually it just sort of segues and he starts saying, he's sitting down and he gets up and he slaps his thighs and he gets up and he says, I'm just feeling so good. I'm feeling so good about this relationship about, Buddhism. It's such a beautiful religion, and Australia and India and Tibet. It's just so wonderful. I'm feeling so good about it. I'm feeling so good. And then he comes up and he picks me up and he just starts kissing my cheeks and grabbing me, pulling me into him and kissing my cheeks. And they're quite full on. And I'm like going, whoa, this is weird. And at the same time.
How strong is he? He's actually
it'd be about 6'1". No, I got up as he got up because I thought that was the end of it. But he pulls me in, right? And I have to pull myself away. And the room is spinning at the same time. Okay, so the room's spinning and he's pulling me in.
It's one of those spinning rooms. It's like one of those kind of like trick rooms.
You're making light of this, dude. This is heavy terrain, okay? And the people, and I look behind me as I'm spinning, and the behind me, I looked at them earlier, there were cages behind me. There's big metal bars behind
with kids
me.
In them?
No, there was no one in them. There's a little bit of hay from memory at the bottom of the floor, but that's about it. Anyway, I push him off and I grab my camera and I just get out of there. I'm walking now, but I'm sort of staggering a little because I'm not sure what's going on. And he's like going, come back, and he said, what are you going? Come back, where are you going? And he's coming at me. I struggle onto the street in Sarnath, and I'm like, Jesus, I need to get out of here. And I go to wave down a tuk-tuk. And I get into the tuk-tuk, and at this stage, I'm actually having trouble getting the tuk-tuk, and it's twilight. It's twilight at this stage. So it's even more surreal because of the fact the outdoor, it's spinning. I'm on a tuk-tuk. The sun is, there's hardly any light. And I'm just really worried that I've got this, $5,000 camera. And I tell the tuk-tuk driver to take me back to my backpackers in Varanasi, and I kind of remember where it was. But I'm worried I'm going to pass out in the tuk-tuk because I've got this camera on me, and I'm worried I'm not going to be able to get back. Anyway, luckily, we make it all the way back, and I don't pass out, although it's quite difficult at stages. And I get back to the backpackers, and there's a Scottish guy there who's been in India for.
I foreshadowed a Scottish guy.
Is he
going to? Does he speak like this?
He was interesting.
I'm from Aberdeen.
He was an interesting guy. He's a former muso. He was in Radiohead. He was in an early incarnation of Radiohead.
Radiohead, wow.
Yeah, and he's a full Buddhist. Shit. Anyway, so I get.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. You, huh?
So I get there.
Tom,
and
I don't know why Tom always has an H in his name. It should be Thom. Thom York.
Why are you allowed to do this? You just saying that I'm not allowed to do it. You said it's not allowed. Anyway, so
what do you say? Hey, Dorje, how are you? I'm allowed to do Scottish because I'm burnt.
Yeah, you are. You're allowed. Oh, wait, I'm half Tibetan. Surely I'm allowed
to do...
All right,
big man. Or you can do Tibetan then. How do they speak? I know the Dalai Lama speaks like Yoda.
Dorje. They talk like this. They talk like this. Dorje. Anyway, so I get there, and
Dalai Lama I am.
No, that's fucked up. You should not do that.
I've seen him speak. He's like,
It's not cool, dude. That's very disrespectful. That will not be going to air.
That's how he speaks. You better not edit that out.
I'm going to edit it. Oh, yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm going to edit it quite anyway. So I'm at the place, and
you better not edit out the whole hip hop section.
You'll be lucky. You'll be lucky for it to get through. So the Scottish guy, he says to me, "You're very lucky." He said, "The reason you didn't pass out is the barbiturates in India are very, very weak. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have been able to stay awake." But so what it came down to is I quickly realized a little bit, this is kind of some symmetry with the Drew Barrymore story, is I couldn't figure out what the angle was. In the end, the angle was me. That was the angle that they were looking for. And I thought that I probably would have woken up with my pants around my ankles and, behind a cage.
Again.
But
bleeding.
It's not funny. It's not funny. Anyways, but the guys at Poco, I told the
story.
Not again! The I've never woken up with some people have gone through that, John, and we shouldn't make light of that.
Oh, yes.
You know,
I'm not making light of it.
Okay, so some people have gone through that. But
making fun of you.
one point about this is the guys at Poker said it might have been a slavery thing. He might have been looking to sell me into slavery.
Mm.
You know, it could have been something like that.
You wouldn't be a great slave, I reckon.
What do you mean? Why wouldn't I be a good slave?
You just argue a lot because you got a law degree. You'd just be annoying. Yes, yeah.
What if I was doped up to the nines?
All the time. Yeah. No, that's terrible. It's amazing you never told me that. You definitely did not tell me that.
Really?
When we were traveling together. Absolutely. I would definitely remember that.
Maybe it was
Same with the bullying. Same with getting bullied. No, you've repressed it. You've only started telling it.
Maybe it was after.
You have to do the timeline. I don't think so. I don't think it was after. I don't think you kept traveling.
After Kerala. I think it might have been after Kerala.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's full on. Do you remember when we were in Nimbin together and with the Bell Shakespeare tour?
Yes.
And we went to like the dope embassy.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, this is how Dorje and I met. We were on this tour, and we still get on well with one of the other girls, but there was four of us, and one of them was just poisonous. She was just the worst person. But for a couple of weeks, it was like a 7-month tour. For a couple of weeks, we even got on with her because we all just got stoned together. And we were in this dope embassy and like we bought all this dope and we were fucking smashed at this bar smoking. And then this Scottish guy walks in and he goes, "She raped me. She fucking raped me."
It's a terrible thing to be raped by a woman. It's a terrible thing.
It's a terrible thing to be raped by a woman. And
she raped me.
Paranoia. And then not long after that, and he just kept going on. Not long after that, one of the bartenders goes, "It's 7:40. That's international dope time. That's when you have to all share some dope with the bar." And we're like, this is a fucking stitch up, but we still did it, and we all gave a bit of our dope over. Yeah, that was some paranoid times, mate. That was Paranoid Valley.
Yeah, he had furrowed brow. He looked a bit like Harry
Dean Stanton from Paris, Texas.
Yeah, he looked a bit like him. Anyway, he had a very distinctive look. He had a very furrowed brow, but he tried to go into detail. It turned out it was basically a relationship which had gone sour.
Yeah, but she didn't have sex with him. I think it was a divorce or something.
Yeah, that's right. He was also looking for an angle to get weed. He was actually working his way towards us, as he said. I think it was a sob story in order to procure.
Well, Nimbin is not incredibly different to Varanasi. They're both these just incredible towns that everyone knows what's going on.
Yes, and Nimbin also isn't very far from Byron and Brunswick Heads, which leads us to your particular full disclosure, which features...
Dorje, you mad bastard. You're really just throwing them all together. This is exciting. Yeah. So I've got a full disclosure as well. Yeah.
Oh, shit. My agent's just calling again. Can you hold the phone for a sec?
Yeah.
I'll just make
Perfect.
Raw.
Okay, so full disclosure, as I said... Full disclosure. Sorry, guys. Dorje just got a call from his agent, just rubbing my nose in it again, just killing it. It's like, oh, hey, babe. Oh, yeah. How should we move with that one? Should we leverage them, or what should we do?
Leverage them?
I'm happy for you, mate. Leverage? Oh, I think it's fine.
Nimbin, Brunswick Heads, Byron.
Yes.
There's no bigger name in Byron than...
John Cornell.
Who used to own, of course, the Beach Hotel there, owns the Brunswick Hotel. Wonderful guy, very famous, as you know.
Well, he's famous because he was business partners with Paul Hogan.
Yes, that's correct.
And came up with World Series cricket.
And Crocodile Dundee.
Anyway, Dorje went out with his daughter, and she's lovely, Liana Cornell. And It was when I was studying writing at NIDA, they met each other. And we went together to her graduation. But and her mum was very famous as well, Delvene
Delaney, who was pretty much considered one of the most beautiful women in Australia, and probably still is by many people, and a lovely person, might I add, as well.
Yeah, and she was Strawny. Strawny? What was Crocodile Dundee's name in that show? She was always his kind of love interest in those skits, and she was
Strop.
Just lust.
Strop. And not Crocodile Dundee. It's John Cornell was Strop. Paul Hogan was just himself.
Cornell was in it as well.
Yeah.
So her and I, this is embarrassing. This is very embarrassing. Full disclosure. I'm not happy about it. Yeah, but you just trotted yours out. You're like, oh, no, I almost got raped. And like you went, I'm the dickhead in this one. So. What
do you mean? I was an idiot in both the other ones as well, I think.
Not an idiot. Well, you guys decide.
I just was too much of a nice piece of meat, I suppose. That was the issue, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think there's, you've got nothing to be ashamed of. Whereas potentially, I just don't know what came over me. So,
well, you came over somebody else, that's for sure.
Shush. So we were there to support Liana at her night at graduation scenes, and I full disclosure, I'd already met Delvene because she'd come and sat in on. I was studying writing, and so I'd written a piece, and her daughter was in it, and so she was there, and she was giving lots of unwelcome feedback to me, basically. Like she invited herself into the room, and it was kind of funny, but we had a bit of back and forth. We were going fine. And then that night, I saw her and her husband, and they were sitting directly in front of me and Dorje. And Skip was there, a good follow-on from who was here this weekend. And maybe there were a couple of other people. And we're all getting around Dorje, supporting Dorje, supporting her. And I could tell Dorje was nervous. He was very, very keen to impress his girlfriend's parents. And John, who's a very impressive man.
I think you might have been superimposing that slightly.
You were sweaty. You had sweaty palms. I could see you were like. I know.
It might have been the fact I was back at NIDA when I didn't really want to be there. It might have been that as well.
Yeah, well, maybe it was just because you wanted to impress her parents. And but John Cornell has what's he got? It's
Parkinson's, unfortunately, poor chap.
Parkinson's, yeah. And so he wasn't very verbal, and he was there, but I was having a few words with Liana's mum. And I was like, are you nervous? And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm a bit nervous. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm nervous too. And George is nervous. And then I went, oh, if you're nervous, maybe I'll give you a bit of a massage. And I just put my arms over and just started massaging her neck. And she went, no, I'm fine. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just did it again. Like I just went again. I was like, oh, I'm massaging this poor 50-year-old woman's shoulders. And Dorje, you looked mortified. You were like, looking at me like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, everyone turned around in the theatre, so everyone's turning around.
She said quite loudly, no! And
John Cornell turns around. It was not easy for him to do at this stage of his life.
Yeah. And
it's almost like there's a spotlight on you guys in the middle of the theatre.
It's like, do the opposite of what you're told to do. And no obviously means no. But can I absolutely clarify, there was nothing sleazy involved. I was literally nervous for you, Dorje, and therefore I was trying to put her at ease. But then when she said she didn't want a massage, which I should have never even offered, I should not have tried to massage her again. And
I felt like I thought that was in threes. I think she said no. No.
Sure.
I think it was a two.
That's the ravages of time on your memory.
You check cross over that Skip, but I'm pretty sure there was three no's actually.
Well, he told me it again on the weekend, and what's really vexing about it is with the whole Harvey Weinstein thing. So that was one of his big go-tos, is the massage in the hotel room. So yeah, that was embarrassing, and I apologise. And
that's weird because you had a massage implement that you famously used to bring out for people when you wanted to help them a little bit.
Not with that agenda. No. Well, my sister's an osteo, so I have a couple of things that help with massage.
Massage toys, would you call them?
Sure. I don't think they're called that. Anyway, she gets a discount, and she sent me over one. It was at your place for ages.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was a good one. Yeah, it's a good one. So yeah, that was your that was your full disclosure. It was the Delvene Delaney, poor lovely Delvene, who was a victim of unwanted advances on Jono's part. Who was a victim, and apparently it was my fault because he was doing it for me. So I take full responsibility for that. He was trying to put me at.
You should be ashamed of yourself.
And Delvene. So I don't know what I was thinking by being slightly nervous in the situation, and the apologies are there. So 3 rip snorters there, folks. We gave you 3 tales of people not taking no for an answer, essentially. And it's, I guess, what we can take away from it, Jono, is that consent's pretty important.
Yeah, really important. Like in the herpes tent. You've got to
like in the herpes tent. What is...
There's 2 rules in the herpes tent. Give consent and give herpes. Give your all. It's 3.
It's tricky. What about when people want you to work for it, though?
What do you mean?
When
consent.
people are like, no,
You don't have
no.
to work for consent.
That's the famous Louis C.K. joke. Remember that one where he was like,
Oh, yeah, well, he's a real poster boy for good taste right now.
yeah, it's true. But he's the one that was... It was
No, I think you're thinking of that famous Bill Cosby joke.
no. No, it's the one where he's like, there was the
Weinstein film.
The groupies came backstage and they were like, no,
No, I think
and
that
he
was
stops.
him. That was him coming backstage.
And then he sees them like 2 days later, and he's like, and then she's like, "What happened to you last night?" And he's like, "Well, you said no." And she goes, "Yeah, but I wanted you to work for it." And he's like, "Well, what am I supposed to do? Rape you? Like, so what about the whole making someone work for it angle?"
Yeah, this is an edgy end to our episode. I don't know. I mean, I guess, yeah, but no always means no is the thing. But yeah, that people can change their mind at any stage. That's the other thing.
I suppose the
But
tone.
I'm pretty sure she wasn't going to change her mind about me massaging her in front of her husband at her daughter's graduation.
No. And I think it's a tone thing. We go back to the Drake thing as well. I think tone and context are really, really important. And so
You really shot down that Drake thing. You really shot it down.
So I think, let's say hypothetically we've had a wonderful night and we've been making out all night and we're, lying in bed together, champagne and,
I've got a good idea. Maybe let's take this. Let's have sex.
Try it again. I'll get on a better way of doing it. Go on.
Okay. Let's have sex.
No, you naughty boy. See, I mean, you can read that there's an element of play in that, It's different. Now do it again.
Okay, let's have sex.
No, fuck off. See, very different. They're different responses.
You minx. You little minx.
So context is important, and I think it's very clear. No always means no, not without a shadow of a doubt.
I'm not giving lessons. I think this is the episode.
If someone gives you chai tea, if someone says that they're going to put you in touch with someone famous, if someone says, please take your hands off me, I think any adult can read those situations and come up with what's the correct way to behave. It's not difficult, really, is it, Jono?
No, that's right.
No holds barred.
This has been a good one, mate. I think we're
We've covered it off nicely.
Give them a short one.
The Unwanted Advances episode has come to its natural close with some strong words about consent and some really fun role play involving Jono, champagne, and caviar. Jono, thanks so much for today's ep. Do you want to wrap it up nicely?
Well, mate, I'm really excited because it looks like we might have some famous guests coming up. We won't tell you who they are now. Well, can we reveal one of them now?
I don't think we can. We won't reveal them, but next week we'll have our first guest week episode. With something we're going to do regularly, where a guest comes in with their own full disclosure. We thought we'd lead from the front with our 3 reveals this week.
Yeah.
And
it was heavy.
Yeah, with some heavy terrain, but some funny terrain as well. We've got some big guns coming up, some pretty big names. And we're pretty excited to have them on board and hear their own disclosures of embarrassing and titillating stories from their life, which are hopefully relatively self-deprecating. Should be a lot of fun, right, Jono?
You beauty, yeah. Really excited about it, Dorje.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks so much for listening, and thanks for rocketing us up towards our 600th listen. We appreciate your support. 15% of our listeners are in the UK and 10% in the US, so we're obviously got a global reach, and we're really enjoying bringing it to you week in, week out.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.